Hello, fermented folks.
We have P. Jelly Clark.
All Makatsu.
We have Travis Baldry.
Today we have a really special guest, Leopoldo Gout.
Are you reeling it in and defending clowns?
I am. Earth doesn't even exist in Battlestar Galactica.
This show gave me heartburn. I was like, I loves it, I hate it.
It's called All Fluff.
Oh!
If you didn't know how I actually feel about The Mandalorian,
Don't worry,
this is it right here. Welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction. Tonight, we are going to do the same thing we do every night, which is drink some drinks, and I'm going to, smoke my pen a little bit with an awesome guest author, and we're going to talk about the TV show Severance as our debate topic this evening. Our guest this evening is Phillip Fracassi, screenwriter and author of many, many novels. Phillip, thank you so much for showing up here tonight and being on our show.
Absolutely. Thanks you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
We're stoked to have you, man, and we're gonna see what the dice gods decide for everybody. Will you like Severance? Will you hate it? Are you an innie? Are you outie on this show? We're gonna find out. But first, we're gonna go around and do some personal updates, and then have Phillip introduce himself and tell us what he has created and what he is creating now. So y'all have a better idea of who we're dealing with here on Fermented Fiction tonight. Jeremy, let's start with you, bud. What's going on in your life?
Oh, well, this is a pretty exciting episode for me because not only did I watch the entire series in the last week, but my wife did with me, which I wasn't prepared for.
Nice.
As you know, my wife is a precious little cinnamon bun, and I didn't know if this was going to be okay for her. And now she's really upset because she has to wait like a year for the third season.
Oh,
yeah.
Wait, if you were in on the first season, it was like a 3-year wait for season 2. It sucked.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Although they did say it wouldn't take as long for the third season.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're thinking late 2026, early 2027.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's a long wait. Yeah.
But hopefully we don't have another round of pandemics or anything like that. You never know.
Yeah.
That certainly didn't help. So how did the cinnamon bun fare there, Jeremy? She made it through okay?
She made it through the whole thing.
Nice.
There was one creepy lady in the woods that she simply could not handle.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Jeremy, your wife doesn't like horror. Is that what it is?
Yeah, no, she is very easy to scare. Like if I'm making the wrong face, that has actually brought her to tears before.
Yeah, there's some creepy stuff in Severance.
Yeah.
I can see it, yeah.
Luckily, this is more of like an existential mindfuck than something really
We can
gory.
say fuck? Oh, good. I didn't know if we could swear.
I mean, I did.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Jeremy kicks us off. Yeah.
Jeremy just refuses to follow the rules.
Happy to help.
Yeah, we call it the Jeremy Rebellion. And we're going to make a really friendly PR video about it later on.
That was the name of my band in high school. What are the odds?
Nice.
Jeremy Rebellion.
Which instrument did you play in the Jeremy Rebellion, Phillip?
I was the manager, I think. You know?
Oh,
Okay, yeah, that's.
You kept the book.
I am not musically
Played
inclined.
Of Quicken.
I can't play instruments. I can't learn foreign languages, and I'm geographically inept. Those are my 3 big no-nos.
You're an idea guy. You're an idea guy.
Yeah,
I'm an
right?
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're an
You
idea
just
guy.
have ideas at people. It'll make it happen.
Right.
Hey, someone's got to do it. Speaking of ideas, Travis, what's your idea of life right now?
Swing is school with a lot of classes. I've updated that like the last 3 times, but keeps kicking my butt.
And I just want to say, bud, I don't know if you're trying to be edgy, but you are halfway out of frame right now.
I am?
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. Oh,
If you want to be edgy, then please do it. I'm not trying to call you out.
not trying to
Yeah,
be
you can
edgy.
be as edgy as you want.
No,
Stick
Jeremy,
to the edge of that frame.
I am anti-edgelord as
It was like
you'll
a
see on
it was
the
like a
show.
Bono thing, like a U2 thing. You know how
yeah,
they
I
were
mean, it was
never-
kind of cool.
they were
That
always
was
like looking
very
away,
dynamic
and
framing.
Yeah.
You
I just
know?
can always imagine the
Like, ooh.
photographer being, guys, at me, look at me, and there's like,
It's like, guys, over here. Just
looking into the distance, or
Yeah.
But we're not doing the album cover for Jeremy Rebellion right now, Travis. You can
Right.
stay focused on your personal update.
Listen, I already have my attempt at the Mr. Milchek mustache, so that's as edgy as I'm going to get today.
That's edgy.
Yeah, my update is, I think, exciting. Some people would be like, "That's it," but Meathead Media is officially at 24 total subscribers, and we have 896 as our 90-day view count, and we're getting there. We're moving up slowly for a little tiny Substack that only has one person that has social media, so it's kind of hard to advertise. But yeah, Zeb gets all the credit because he shares all the articles and pumps us up on Reddit and stuff, and also writes the most consistently. I think me and Kent have missed a few, and Zeb has like never missed. But Meathead Media, we do movie reviews about specific themes and topics on Substack, so check us out. Kind of excited. We're almost to 25, and we'll move the goal marker to 50 next, and hopefully we can get there.
Hell yeah. And Meathead Media is a lot of fun. You guys write good articles, and they are also sort of a subsidiary of Fermented Fiction, a partner right now. So they're kind of our weekly, daily content creators. And Zeb, again, huge shout out to you. You're kicking ass out there, buddy. Thank you for doing all that and for running the Reddit and doing all those awesome things. Zeb is awesome. He was on our episode last season where we talked about, what was the movie we talked about with him?
Interstellar. That's one of his favorites.
Yeah, that was a fun one. So you can go check that out if you don't know who Zeb is, or you can usually find him lurking in the comments. Yeah, so my personal update, I guess, would be that I don't know if I said last season, but my wife and I just got some sea kayaks. So those things are awesome.
oh,
They're
nice.
yeah, we're really excited about them. We've been talking about it for a long time. It's actually what we put our wedding funds aside for. What we asked for from people was to just chip into that, basically. And so we finally were able to get them, save up enough. And yeah, they're two, we got a crazy good deal on them off Facebook Marketplace. But they're two 16-foot kayaks.
Whoa.
They can carry, yeah, they're huge.
Wow, yeah.
Didn't really anticipate getting them that big or anything at first, but the deal was crazy, and they're in super good condition. They're just never used. The people who owned them just had some medical problems and never really got to use them. So they were just selling them, and yeah, it's crazy. But we finally took them out for the first time just a couple days ago.
Do you live? I'm assuming you live near a body of water where you can go regularly to. Are you in the East Coast or West Coast, or where are you at, generally speaking?
Yeah, West Coast. So I'm on the Washington Peninsula. I'm actually pretty close to where Matt Dinneman lives. I'm 3 hours west of him.
Oh, right on.
In Gig Harbor. Yeah.
Matt's a good friend of mine. That's nice to know.
That's what he was telling me at WorldCon. He was like, "We got to get Phillip to come to Crypticon." And I was like, "That would be sick."
Yeah, I live in LA somewhere, but I would always love. I've not done ocean kayaking, sea like that, but my wife and kid and I, when we go out to Lake Tahoe or whatever, we always kayak around, and it's so much fun. He's a big kayaker, Adam Neville. You familiar with Adam Neville? Huge kayaker, huge sea kayaker. I mean, he's in the UK, obviously, but he always posts photos of him and his daughter kayaking, and it's a big part of his life.
Yeah,
sorry,
I
didn't mean to interrupt your life update. Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. Thank you. That's a great link for sure. He got a story into Best Horror of the Year anthology from Datlo this year. That was a sea kayaking story called Rock Hopping. Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. I'll have to check it out. I haven't read that one.
It's good. Yeah, Rock Hopping it's called. And it's sea kayaking at the start, and then they land on this remote island, and there's people on the island. So anytime that happens in an Adam Neville book, you kind of know it's going to go bad.
Yeah, we did you meet him at the last StokerCon when he was
I
there?
did. Yeah, he was a
super
really nice guy.
Super nice guy. He's the first. My first book was a little booklet called Mother, and it came out in 2015. And he's one of 3 authors that blurbed. I mean, this is the first story I ever published. I was nobody. I'm still nobody, but I was a completely unpublished author. And him and Laird Barron and Paul Tremblay blurbed my little chapbook, which I thought was pretty. In hindsight, it's even cooler than it was at the time because I didn't really fully realize like how cool it was at the time. But yeah, super nice dudes. I've known him forever. That's cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's one of the coolest things about this industry, especially in horror, is like horror is very small and intimate. Like people will definitely help you out, and people that you would be surprised who will say yes if you ask them for something. Like we got Amakatsu on this show like 3 years ago, way before we had our shit together. Because she's just like that too, super generous and super kind.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of awesome people like that in this industry, including Neville and Paul Tremblay, who he was on a couple weeks ago.
Right on.
We debated American Werewolf in London. If you want to check that out, it was a lot of fun.
Oh, really cool. I love that movie.
It's yeah, I mean, it's a classic. And rewatching it, I was pleasantly surprised. Some of the old ones don't hold up, but I felt like that.
Well, the practical effects,
does.
it's like you can't like practical effects don't age as nearly as badly as bad early computer effects, or whatever. Like they really age out. The practical effects, what you're getting. Like it is what it is. So like The Thing, still holds up because it's all practical effect. That's why it still holds up after all this time.
Yeah, for sure.
Jaws, same thing.
We talked about Blade last week, which is an example of that not necessarily being the case.
No, that's not the case. No, the blood tornado at the end.
Oh my god!
Is not
so sad. I missed that because I had so many thoughts on the blood tornado.
We didn't even get to the blood tornado. Surprisingly,
oh no!
Yeah,
part of the movie.
Oh dang it! We may need a whole other episode all about Blade.
Yeah. Well, you can get into Blade 2 and Blade 3, and now they've been remaking it, I guess, for a long time.
It got scrapped.
If it ever comes out.
Yeah.
That's sort of like Winds of Winter at this point. Don't hold your breath. So yeah. And what if you have been holding your breath waiting for the debates, too bad. You can stop doing that now because we're gonna get
Sorry, I'm a chatter.
No, I'm not apologizing to you, Philip. I'm just mocking the fans. This is what we do. We take their patience and their generosity and we shove it in their faces.
Yes.
And
we absolutely will not reward them for it.
No, you don't get rewarded for positive things like that around here. Only talking shit and showing up fucking like 15, 20, 40 minutes late like Colin. Hi, Colin.
Just hi, Colin.
Oh, hey.
Philip, though, does he have a life update?
I mean, also just who are you, Philip? We would like to know that.
Yeah. I'm a primarily a horror writer. I write other genres too. I wrote a science fiction novel. My new book is kind of a thriller whodunit, but definitely got some horror stuff in it. But and I'm also a screenwriter. I've got a couple movies produced, and I'm still screenwriting. Doing that. I've been writing my whole life. I've had a bunch of different careers. I owned a bookstore for a while. I was a music executive for a while. I worked in film and TV production for a long time, on and off for 30 years. But now I'm full-time writing and really enjoying it and really grateful to be doing that full-time because it's something I've always wanted to do. That's who I am. That's what's up with me. And I live in Los Angeles and I'm got a beautiful wife and a lovely child and just kind of sit in my office alone in the dark and write scary stories 7 days a week. Yeah.
Hell yeah. It's not such a bad gig.
It has its ups and downs, but it's right. But it's good. Yeah. And life update wise, going to full promotion mode on the new book, which comes out on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And tomorrow morning leave which I'm actually kind of excited about. You guys would probably dig this kind of stuff because I'm going to called Fan X, but it's Comic-Con, but it's in Salt Lake City. So it's
cool.
Salt Lake City's Comic-Con. So I'm going to do that for a few days, which I'm looking forward to because I like that kind of stuff. I like seeing all the all the books and comics and movies and fun stuff like that. And I'll be doing a bunch of stuff there in Salt Lake City. And then I go on like a 6-week tour all across the country to promote the book. So I'm kind of getting all that organized now, which is kind of fun. And I look forward to meeting readers and getting out of my office. Be nice.
Yeah, I like the face-to-face aspects of it too. I love conventions. That's like a big part of where we've built the show from, and where I've like gotten any kind of traction in this industry. I'm still pretty new to everything as well, but yeah, I'm glad you're getting that opportunity, and I hope you have a successful book tour, man. It looks like it's going to be a good time.
Thank you. Yeah, it'll be fun. And yeah, conventions are great. I always tell new writers, and lately I've been talking to young influencers, people who are trying to make their mark as reviewers or influencers and stuff like that. I'm like, you got to go to conventions because everybody, especially StokerCon, we talked about that pregame, like StokerCon, everybody's there and everyone's so nice for the most part. And it's a great way to meet people and connect with people. And yeah, and the writer community, horror writer community specifically, you mentioned, is very tight and we all know each other. And we're all kind of been in the same boat, rocky water filling boat for the last however long. And so it's a great community, and it's something I always recommend to people to try and hit some of those conventions. There's a lot of them, especially on the East Coast but yeah, it's a good way to meet people and get more immersed in the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of getting immersed, Colin, I see you're eating, so we'll get into our debate here. Speaking of being immersed,
is it like a ramen, or what are we doing? What are we doing, Colin?
Yeah, what are you eating, Colin?
Is it like
what's the situation?
Let's draw.
We're doing a curry. Oh, it's a
nope, not quite.
Whoa, this guy
just blurs it. Google just blurs that.
Is that olives? What's in that?
So let's see. We got some broccolis.
It's a seasonal.
What's the black stuff? Kiwi? What are you
mushrooms?
Okay.
Kiwi.
I don't eat mushrooms, and I don't eat olives. Those are my two things.
There's no olives. It's broccoli.
And the broccoli I love. Broccoli's good.
My wife can't do mushrooms either because of the texture. She likes the flavor. If you grind them up, can't do the texture. Yeah.
Can't do the flavor, can't do the texture. If you sneak in a mushroom and don't even tell me it's in a sauce or something, and I eat the sauce, I'll start feeling sick, and I'll be like, "There's mushrooms in there, isn't there?" You can't slip it past me. I'll know because they've tried. They put mushrooms on everything. It's like a conspiracy. You go to a restaurant now and you order whatever, sushi or steak, and they're like, he shows up with mushrooms. I'm like, what? Since when?
They'll do it. They don't even care.
They don't. They just think, oh well, everyone likes mushrooms.
Maybe there was an American mushroom surplus, and they just have to get rid of it.
The other day I ordered a cheeseburger, and it came with a big mushroom on it. And I was like, since when we're putting big mushrooms on top of cheeseburgers? And I was like,
since we realized that mushrooms are the most delectable things on the planet.
It's fungus, dude. It's
They may just be trying to kill you. I don't know.
It might be.
They can kill me. They can kill me all day. I'm going to keep eating them. And that's sort of like what separates certain people who might choose to get severed from people who wouldn't, right? And we're going to talk about what that means in Severance here in our debate. Now, if you don't know what Severance is, essentially the premise for it is there is this company called Lumen, and you can make the choice as a Lumen employee to go to what's called the severed floor, which means they use some space age science magic to make it so that basically an alternative version of yourself goes down into that basement and works all day. And when you come back up, you don't remember work, and your work persona doesn't remember your life outside of work. So everybody on the severed floor, if you are in the office, you essentially just live in that office for that sort of version of your consciousness. But when you leave work, you're basically a different person, and you don't remember work at all. I guess the appeal to that, or the premise of the appeal, would be either you want to forget a bunch of shit to focus on your work better and to maybe sort things out, get some distance from some painful things, memories, or you don't want to think about work when you're not working. So it's best just not even know about it. And then vice versa. You can focus better. An employee would be more efficient, maybe, if they weren't thinking about whoever they got on the outside or whatever else they got going on. So, no matter what you might think of that premise or whether you'd get severed or not, it doesn't matter. All that matters right now is the fucking opinion of the dice gods, because they're in charge from here on in for the next 10 minutes or so while we do this debate. So we're going to roll our dice. Travis has a dice. Philip does not. Philip, who would you like to roll for you? Any of the three of us could probably get the job done.
I'll say Travis because he's wearing a sport coat.
Well, Travis is rolling against you, though.
I'm going against you.
Oh, wait. Oh, so someone has to roll for him. Oh, right, because it's the like it or hate it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, whoever has a dice, whoever has a die lying handy. Jeremy, do you have one? You have a tie on.
I do not.
What?
The options are dwindling quickly.
It better be you, Colin, because last week I rolled for Brian McCauley and I rolled a straight net too.
Colin's straight up eating a mushroom salad, so he's probably not thinking he's gonna die. Throw a die.
I'll try it.
He may die.
All right, Clayton's going for it. I rolled mine. It's mid, as the kids say.
Mine's good. So I hope you like this movie, Philip, because I rolled this show, Philip, because I rolled a 17.
I wrote a 12. Yep.
So 17 is toward the good end, not toward the bad end.
Yeah, so now you got to argue.
So you kind of like it, and I really like it, Travis, is what I'm understanding.
No, Travis hates
I hate it.
Oh, 12 is a pretty high number too, but it doesn't matter. You guys.
No, it's not a spectrum. It's just straight.
A loser loses, you know.
Right. I'm very intrigued by the Stephen Graham Jones you have behind you, Clay. I'm trying to figure out what the situation there is, but I don't want to cut into my 10 minutes.
You're good.
Okay. Jeremy, can you get a timer? I don't have my phone or anything. Okay. So I'll let Jeremy give you the Bruce Buffer rundown and then he'll count you in. And Philip, you will go first because you rolled high and you are defending Severance as a great show.
Sure.
But don't filibuster. I need my time.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. Let's do this thing. You got 10 minutes. We want a good, clean fight. You just walk in there. You're fighters, and that's all you know. That's all you are. And then timer goes off. There's no fighting. What are you doing? That's not what we do here.
We're all friends again.
All right. Yeah, we're all friends. It's all good. And so, let's just go for it. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, you could make the argument that Severance is one of the best TV shows ever put on air. And there's multiple reasons. The first reason is the premise is so unique and so original. And believe me, when I tell you, coming from someone who has to create stuff for a living, that's a big deal. And that's hard to find a new angle on something that has not been really explored before. And I think Severance does a really good job of presenting something that's completely and totally fresh. And secondly, the writing is top tier. The dialogue, the set pieces, the action, the way they feed out the plot, the secrets slowly kind of becoming more and more evident throughout the course of the 2 seasons that have been on air. That's really hard to do, really masterful to keep people engaged on an episode to episode basis while feeding just enough to keep them coming back without like going full lost and just having it evaporate into nothing at the end of the day. Like it does actually seem like they know what they're doing. Thirdly, the acting is, some of the best acting that's on TV today. All the cast has been a knockout, from Walken to Totoro to the Adam to the girl whose name I don't know who just won the Emmy. Great acting carries the show, and the gentleman who plays the mustache guy whose name also I don't know. I'm sorry. All the acting is fantastic. Even the little girl who's like in college in like Berkeley somewhere or whatever it is, like great acting. And lastly, and this is a Ben Stiller plug. It looks great. Like it's the set design, everything from the set design to the cinematography is film quality. The camera work, the opening episode of season 2 was probably one of the most iconic openings in television history, and that's something that's pretty hard to do. With him running around and the camera following him, and the kind of behind the scenes that they did, how they did all that was just a technical kind of marvel. So I think when you add all that up and you put it all together, you're arguably talking about. And last thing, I'll say one more thing: it's popular. Like, people like it, which is, you can have your David Lynch Twin Peaks that nobody watched, which is why it got canceled. But to have actually people watching it on top of everything else, that's a unicorn. So I would argue it's one of the top 10 shows of all time, even 2 seasons in, and it's a complete and total unicorn when it comes to television.
Transformers was popular. Firefly.
Don't go after my last point.
Firefly was popular, but Firefly got canceled. So popularity, I don't think, is the greatest metric. I won't go over just your last point, though. All the creativity, all the set design, all the acting performances, all that would be great, grand, and fantastic, and I would have loved it if the show made an ounce of sense. And it really just doesn't. Like Severance makes no damn sense. I'm convinced that 78% of its audience that keeps showing up every week is like me, where they're just showing up to be like, what the hell? Am I going to get some stupid answers to this dumb show that just keeps confusing the shit out of me? Spoiler alert, human beings that listen to Fermented Fiction, you don't. You just get more questions, and it gets more confusing, and the people get lost in the sauce, and no one knows what the hell's going on. And you tune in every single weekend, and you're thinking, okay, finally, they're going to start connecting some dots and putting some puzzle pieces into this massive puzzle. And then they're just like, no, guess what? The puzzle's bigger than you thought it was, and there's less pieces. So it doesn't actually work. I don't think it's well written. I think the dialogue sounds well written, but I think the story's cohesion is so all over the place that the absurdism takes over, and you lose focus of the character stories, and you get lost into this like weird kind of sci-fi plot, and start to kind of care more about how weird it's going to be, less about what the story actually is trying to say. And I don't know. I just don't get why it's so hyped up, other than my theory that people are so confused, they just really want to know. And Lost did that too for a while. But you see, Lost did it with people in bikinis, and that changes the perspective a little bit. I show up. Like, I show up for more bikinis. There's been no bikinis in this, so I don't know why I keep showing up. It's a lot really grayscale and lots of really weird suits. And I will say the one positive I'm going to give this show is Mr. Milchick's mustache is fantastic. So that I'll let you rebuttal, but I have more points.
Well, my rebuttal is that I do think that I do think it makes sense. And I think what Lost did is they just kind of kept throwing stuff at the viewer in the way you're describing it. Like, and now there's a polar bear, and now there's this weird 7-digit thing, and now there's like this weird lighthouse structure that you have to go up into and turn the big wheel. And then when you got to the end of Lost, none of that had anything to do with anything. Oh, they're in purgatory. It's like, well, then what was with all this nonsense we had to like just deal with? And I do feel that Severance has done a good job of explaining what's happening. Most people, per Clay's opening synopsis, actually do know what's going on. Like, it's pretty clear. There's the severed innies, there's the outies, there's the corporate overlord. Now there's the twist of like I'm assuming everyone's seen this. The show's watching this, so we're not worried about spoilers, right? So the girls, the daughter, and all that. Like, there's a lot of fun twists. I just feel like I do feel like they're getting, because I'm one of those guys that I am impatient. If I feel like you're pulling my chain just to keep me to come back, I will bail on a show. I will bail on it with prejudice. But I do feel that that with Severance, they do a really good job, as I said in my opening arguments, of actually feeding out real facts telling the viewers what's going on piece by piece without giving away the whole enchilada. I do feel that the puzzle is getting bigger. I would agree with you on that, but I think they have the pieces. I think they know where they're going. So that would be my rebuttal of that. I don't think there were some bikinis in Lost. I don't think there was a ton of bikinis in Lost. It felt like they were kind of wearing whatever clothes were available to them.
That's true.
I do think
which was very few. So maybe that's where I was thinking of the bikinis.
Maybe it was upsetting. You're thinking of the polar bear.
Yeah.
So in that respect, I do still feel like that I feel like the arguments are shallow because I do think that people are being fed real information and real character, and the character development is actually pretty intense with the sister and her husband, who's the writer, the self-help writer, and with the Patricia Arquette character, who's kind of like was on the inside, now she's on the outside, and she's trying to help him now. I think those characters are actually pretty deep. Milchick has become an American icon. Like he's an American icon. Like everyone, the mustache. Clay mentioned I'm doing my Milchick mustache. I mean, Mr. Milchick has become this like incredible pop culture figure. So I disagree. And I don't think people are coming back to be tormented or because they're annoyed. I do think there's an element of people coming back because they want to know what happens next. But I would say the percentage is more people are coming back because it's a quality show with all the things that I mentioned, the quality acting. It looks great. It's intriguing. The storylines are intense. We all know about the wife and who's been trapped, and we know what his 100% thing is about. We know that he's trying, they're trying to create a perfect employee who's completely severed so they can unleash it on the rest of the world. I mean, all that stuff has been explained. So I don't think it's quite as like obtuse as you think it is. And so I would counter that most of the show has been explained to the extent that with season 3, I'm kind of wondering where else they have to go, which I will say for you, again, repeating, there is a bigger puzzle that they're going to explore. But I feel like everything they've done to date has been pretty explained. So I don't think it's overly mysterious.
I think I'll stick with my points, but I'll add on. I think the absurdism gets a little too absurd as well, especially in season 2. I mean, I was on board with some of the like defiant jazz scene and like a little like some of the weird like finger crap prizes and stuff. I was like, okay.
The marching band wrote the marching band.
The marching band. I was just about to get to the marching band. What the hell was the marching band? Like, how is that the finale kind of almost like battle scene we have with Milchick? Was him like trapped? They're trapped in this bathroom with a marching band outside and no one knows what the hell's going on. Just weird. It's a weird show and I don't like it. Time. I'm out of time.
Shut up. It's time. You're done. Let it go.
I'm
Beer of the week.
Drink of the week.
Just wait till I see you in person, Travis, so we continue this intense debate.
Wait till my real thoughts.
Real thoughts.
Oh yeah,
Ooh,
there's still time. There's still time.
There's still time.
Okay, well, we are in our drink of the week now. So what is everybody drinking? Great debate, everybody. Soon
Good
you'll
job.
know what we all really think. But first, let's have some drinks and let's learn a little bit about this movie. Colin,
I just want to let you guys know before we get into that I just texted my wife because I'm out of Jameson. So it's an appropriate segue.
Good.
That's very
drinks,
good.
Yeah.
Start a timer. Wife timer.
Perfect time.
Barmaid timer.
So that's what
She's a hero. She's a hero. She'll come up. Yeah.
That's what you'll be drinking, Philip. You'll be drinking some good old JMO.
Well, I don't want to go first. You want me to go with my drink?
Sure.
Because I can talk about it. So I am a Scotch guy. Obviously,
Okay.
Jameson is Irish whiskey. So no, this is a bit of an outlier. I typically only drink Jameson in a bar when I'm drinking Guinness. I'll have like a neat Jameson with my Guinness.
Mhm.
But typically at home, I drink Scotch. My home Scotch is a Dewar's 12 year. I don't drink the Dewar's White Label. I can't. I'm too old. I've been through too much. I can't go back.
Yeah.
But I love a nice Balvenie. Thank you. God bless. I love a nice Balvenie. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that brand, but it's they make a 12 year and a 14 year and a 21 year, I believe. And all of them are exceptional scotches. I'm a Speyside guy. so I lean toward the vanilla
Mhm.
normal versus the smoky. I can't do the smoky or the so that's typically what I don't drink a lot of beer. I you know, I'm an older guy and it just doesn't sit well as it used to when I was like in my 30s. So so I try and stick to the scotch now, the healthy stuff.
Good. I love scotch too, and yeah, I love the aromatic space sides. Are delicious.
Yeah.
All right, Colin, you showed up. Did you show up with a beer as well as pasta?
I sure
Oh
did.
yeah.
I have Group Project German style light lager ale.
Yeah.
I feel
That
like
Nice.
is
that's
a
fitting.
great,
There's cats
great
in
fitting.
front of a whiteboard.
Yep.
This is
So-
by Urban Family Brewing Company, which is fantastic and a local brewery. But this particular one, they actually worked on it with, it's celebrating Seattle Beer Week 2025. So there's a bunch of local breweries like Rubens Brews, Stoop, Underberg, and like 12 more on here. Fremont. So local beer, local group.
And it's an
project.
IPA, you said, Colin? Is that what you said?
This is a German style light lager.
Oh, lager. Okay.
And I'm pairing with it a mushroom just for Phil right here.
Just for real
So
good measure,
gross.
right there.
They're
The
even
cream.
putting them in the beer.
So if we ever have dinner together,
Yeah, they come. That beer comes with it actually.
my mushroom and olive thing is the as far as gauging is concerned, you can call it rolling a dice, how it comes number wise. But if a mushroom is on my plate, or let's say it's on top of a steak or whatever, I can scrape the mushroom off, and I can still eat that steak. If you bring me a plate and there's olives on it, whole plate
Game
goes back.
over.
It's gonna taste like olives, the whole
Whole
plate.
thing goes back. Yeah,
You lick the plate, plate tastes like an olive.
yeah. And it'll never leave you, haunt you forever.
It absolutely will. Is anybody else's drink haunting them in any way? Travis, do you have a haunting drink?
Haunting? I don't know. It's a rare because they're not running currently. We're hoping they come back. But Dry Hills Distillery here in Bozeman made a Montana bonded wheat whiskey, and it's well done. But yeah, I don't remember what happened. Something happened with the building they were in, and they are temporarily not distilling. So right now, there's not many of these left, and I have one. So
I
it's
was
good
going to
stuff.
say it's potentially rare.
Yeah, potentially rare.
Well, I hope that it doesn't become rare. That
Mhm.
sounds like it would suck. But nice, good to have a local whiskey. Jelemy?
Well, I'm delighted that you asked because I did homework to find what I was going to be drinking. Because you see, in season 1, episode 7, we do see Mark drinking a bottle of whiskey that remains tastefully, without the label being shown to the camera. Because who wants to endorse Mark's alcoholism? Well, after a bit of research, I concluded that it was High West.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. The giveaway.
Is that the bourbon, or is that the bourbon you got there, or what do you got there?
Yep, this
You got
is
the bourbon,
this is their bourbon.
Little
And
rye,
the
yeah,
giveaway
they're
was
good
the
stuff.
rounded top. Yeah. Good stuff. Just drinking away like I'm a sad man who had brain surgery.
Like you're a writer.
That was my fermented choice a couple weeks ago, actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
I like
High
that.
West.
I like that stuff, that bourbon. I've had it before. It's really good. That High West, it's good.
Oh yes.
And I kind of picked mine on visual vibes since I didn't have any good like group project label vibes. I went with a Contact Haze.
Oh, I love it. Is that a hazy
it's,
IPA? Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
I love a hazy IPA. Yeah, that's good
Ooh,
stuff.
yeah.
So it's local. And this looks like some Severance type artwork going on here.
100%. Yep.
This
I think
I
that's
can
an
see the
Egan over
founder. That's definitely an Egan bust, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Specifically suited to somebody. Yeah. So I basically picked it because of that, because it was that's as close as I could get.
Somebody would be wearing that mask during a weird satanic orgy for sure.
Yeah, no, that scene, dude. I like looked away for a few minutes, or like I went to do something, and when I came back, that was happening, and I was like, okay. I
Yeah.
don't know where the show went in the last 2 seconds, but that was a
Yeah,
hard
went from
shift.
waffles to a weird
The waffle thing was. I
It
don't
goes
know.
places. It goes.
That's
That might have
not
been
what
the
I
one-
thought.
That might have been the one moment where I was kind of like,
like, oh,
I don't
this
know.
is
Yeah, a reach maybe. I have a buddy. You guys might find this interesting. 'Cause I know you're all lit junkies and beer junkies. I have a buddy who has a company called Rapture Brewing,
Hmm.
and he actually sends me. He brewed a beer for Boys in the Valley. My book that came out in 2023 for the
Sweet.
tour. We did a tour beer for that, and he's done some other unique stuff for me. And he's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But anyway, he's expanded his Rapture Brewing empire into Rapture Publishing. So he's now publishing authors, and he does like he's done like Tyler Jones and Ian Rogers and me and Brian Evanson. And anyway, so he's kind of a fun combination. Check him out if you ever get a chance. But he's a fun combination of like a guy who is like literally like he still does. I mean, he's a Rapture Brewing, has his beer company, but now he's also publishing book, which is kind of a perfect combination,
Nice.
horror lit and beer. Yeah, microbrew beer.
That's as good as it gets. I can't imagine a better combination. We're trying to use that combination too, but a lot less effectively, it sounds like. But hey, y'all got to get there on your own path, don't you? At the end of the day, and Colin's path, as traditionally it has become for Fermented Fiction, is telling us some facts about Severance, and we will accept facts from anybody on the panel. Philip, if you have any fun facts about Severance, feel free to share them. But Colin, what do you have for us tonight?
So the creator is Dan Erickson, and he said that the show was born out of his own corporate misery and his string of office jobs, wishing he could skip ahead 8 hours to the time when he's done with his shift.
Sure.
His script got picked up and looked at by Ben Stiller, which is kind of the major reason it got made. And it actually, because I love as a writer, changes that were made, and there were a lot of changes that were made. They really hammered out tons of details that never made it into the show about each of the characters. The pilot actually opened with Mark waking up on the table.
Interesting.
And so that was a huge shift that they made, and it had a lot to do with just like the character dynamics they've said about having a female join an all-male office group, and playing off of all those changes that suddenly were so apparent in the script by making that little change. There was more acid trippy moments in the original script as well, like a pair of disembodied legs at one point that just people just see and aren't talked about again. And the show is filmed a lot more like a movie, in the sense that they filmed it over like 10 months, and they filmed it also out of order. And some of the cast and crew really had to concentrate on where they were in each character's storyline at one point. With at least, the two main characters really struggling and making sure that they had like scrapbooks, photo books, information on each of their characters, playing the innie and the outie with like slightly different ticks and things like that. So that was all part of how they kept everything organized. The incredible building, Lumen headquarters, is Bell Labs, which I think actually got like bought out and repurposed for a whole bunch of other stuff.
Is that in Canada? Bell Labs?
No, it's in like New York, I think.
Oh, it is? Okay. Like New York State, yeah.
Certainly Bell Labs is like, well, I mean, basically, if you were smart up until 1980, you tried to get a job at Bell Labs. It was like the Apple of its day for a long time. So it's kind of not surprising that that's where they filmed it, because, Bell had the money to make that incredible building that's now so prominent in the show.
That's
And I think it was
fascinating.
Bell. I think it was Bell. I think AT&T came out of. I could be wrong about this, but I think AT&T came out of Bell. Like they had to split it because it was a monopoly, and they controlled too much. And so I think AT&T became the phone, and then something else. Their other stuff became some other stuff. But it could be. I remember being traumatized when AT&T showed up on the scene. I was like, "What? Where's?" I don't know. I was a little kid, but I digress. Go ahead. Sorry, Colin.
Two other things. I'm sure the filmmakers of us know that the weird scenes in the elevators were I learned it as a pan zoom, other people as like a dolly zoom, but essentially you zoom in the camera while you pull it back, or the opposite, to make that weird trippy
Dolly zoom
sensation.
or the push.
Don't they call that like a cowboy zoom or something? I think there's like a.
I've heard a bunch of names for it.
Well, I know when you have the thing where like when you're
They-
moving in and the character sort like it's called a cowboy. It's like a dolly move, and it's called like a cowboy zoom or
Yeah,
something
like
that.
most of the time people
I know
will
you're
call it
talking
like
about, but that's a pretty tight
dolly
space, though.
zoom, like a dolly zoom or a push pull or like a vertigo shot because it was popularized in Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely like a vertigo. And one of the coolest things I learned about the show that was totally random. I don't think there was like no previous marketing for it or any announcement, but basically they built the entire set in Grand Central Station, and all the actors just refilmed that scene, not filmed it, but recreated and reacted that scene from the second season in Grand Central Station in a completely built set that was there just for marketing for the hell of it. And I remember seeing like scenes of it because people were literally like coming home from work and seeing the actors from the show playing this scene in the train station.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was a great marketing gag.
And lastly, Christopher Walken doesn't have Apple TV Plus and he refuses to get it, so they sent him the show on DVD.
That was my favorite fact. That was my favorite fact.
Beautiful.
I love it.
I mean, honestly, it is like it getting the Apple TV Plus. I gotta say, was like a bridge too far. That's why I didn't watch the show until now.
I can't. My wife does all the apps because I'm like, what's that? There's Apple, and then there's Apple Plus, and there's Apple. Like, I don't get it. Too many things. I don't understand all the different stuff. It's all just where's cable? Where's my cable?
Yeah,
I
have
a Christopher Walken story. I don't want to interrupt Travis, but if you guys want to hear it, I have a really good Christopher Walken story.
Please tell it. The only thing I was going to say, one of my favorite podcasts said, Raiders of the Lost podcast made the joke that I always repeat of, soon all the streaming services are going to come under one streaming umbrella, and they're just going to name that company cable. And we're just going to
right back where we started.
Right back where we started. But
yeah.
Christopher Walken.
Oh, okay. So here's like I'll make it quick. I as I said, I worked in film and TV for a long time, on and off. So when I first started in film and TV in the mid '90s, I was doing like art department, props, that kind of stuff. I was a camera guy for a while. I was a first AD for a while, second AD for a while. And then for about 8 years before I became a writer, full-time writer, I was working in location. So I worked on shows like Yellow Jackets and Star Trek Picard and Why Women Kill and stuff like that. But anyway, the point about Christopher Walken is when I was I worked on a movie called The Prophecy, and Christopher Walken was one of the leads in that movie. And there was a scene where he's kind of perched on the edge of a open grave, and they're digging up they're digging up like a sycophant. The woman ends up, I can't remember her name, I'm sorry, and Adam Goldberg's in the grave and he's digging out the grave, and Walken's delivering dialogue to him. And so we were there. This was in Arizona, and on set, and it was a real graveyard, real cemetery. And when we were outside just filming Walken's profile looking down into the grave, Adam, who's in the grave, said, I don't want to be in the grave, because what's called Fuller's Earth, which is the stuff that he was shoveling out, so it looked really good on camera when you see the giant shovelfuls coming out. It was like bothering him or whatever. So the director said, Joel said, Philip, go in the grave and dig in the grave. So in the movie, when you're watching Christopher Walken talk into the grave and you see the giant scoops of dirt flying out, that's me. So Walken was delivering his lines to me in the grave while I was digging out the Earth. So I kind of felt like I was in the scene with Walken. I was just a little
That's
bit off
awesome.
camera, but that's
You
my
totally
Christopher
were.
Walken. That's my Christopher Walken. I did have a scene on film with Christopher Walken. You just can't see me because I'm in a grave
Heck yeah, man.
shoveling. Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
mean,
Christopher
that is more times than I've ever met Christopher Walken. So I love it.
Mhm.
yeah. I almost died on that show too. That's another story, but I won't bore you guys with it.
I might just make that a question, and
Yeah.
come on.
Or your near death is going to be so
won't
boring.
bored. All right,
Travis,
Colin, was that your last fact?
That's all the facts I have. Sorry. Oh, Colin. Yeah, sorry. I jumped in. I'm sorry, guys. I
Also,
checked.
you, Philip.
no, dude,
everybody?
Philip,
This is
you're
great.
kicking ass, dude. You're
This is
awesome.
great.
Okay.
Dude, so good.
Severance was a success. That's what we're going to end as we transition into the next part. And yeah, Severance was a smashing success. It broke the Apple TV Plus streaming record, which was previously held by, any guesses? Any guesses?
I don't know what's
Apple
on what.
TV Plus streaming record
Yeah.
specifically.
Yep.
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. Ted
Yeah.
Lasso was the previous
That was a
record.
big COVID hit. Yeah, sure.
Severance smashed it, garnered a record 589 million minutes of viewing in the US, with 28% of that coming from the second season premiere. They kept growing as new seasons have released. Like the season 2 premiere was a smashing hit, so people kept coming back. It was so successful that Apple had a significant increase in subscriptions, including 126% increase in signups between the 1st and 19th of January. So big hit for Apple, and rounded off all of that success by getting 27 Emmy nominations and walking away with, and I hate how the USA Today article words it. They said 27 Emmy nominations, but only walked away with 8 wins.
What a bunch of losers. I thought this show was good.
Why did I even bother to watch?
Yeah, 8 Emmys. How dare they?
Is that all they could gather together?
It won 8 Emmys.
Did it
and
win
I'm
best series? I don't remember. I don't pay much
I
attention to the
don't
award stuff.
think so.
I
That was Love Island.
know the actress who plays Haley won, which is well deserved.
Yep. I don't think it did. I think.
No, studio. Was it comedy?
Yeah, the studio beat it.
Yeah, what a great
Studio
show
beat
that
it,
is. Boy,
and
boy. What a great show.
The Pit nabbed most of the dramas.
Another great show, man.
I still haven't watched, but I've heard it's great.
Those two shows are awesome.
But that's like pretty definitive proof that we can say that Severance was indeed a hit. And I'm just going to transition right into, because I debated. So Clay, if you don't mind, I'm going to give you my real opinion right off of that, because now we're into that discussion part. And then Philip,
I can talk about how much I hate it.
If you did, but I lied my butt off. I love
hard to do, man. It's hard to do.
I love Severance. I absolutely adore this show. One of the biggest praises I could give it is my wife is not a movie and TV person, so sometimes I'll just like randomly play something while she's there and see if she like bites. It's happened twice. One of them was Reacher, which isn't the best show, but it was entertaining, and she like came back and was like, I want to see the big guy beat people up again. And I was like, cool, yeah, we can keep watching Reacher. And the other one was
about Reacher, by the way. We won't go into it, but I have thoughts about Reacher.
the other one was this show where I started watching it. I think she was doing chores in the background, started watching with me halfway and was like, can you start that over? And I was like, I've already watched all of season 1. And she's like, I don't care. And got really into it. It became like our weekly ritual. So big endorsement from Chloe. But I think everything you said about it, Philip, is 100% correct. The set design, the directing, the acting. I think it is an incredibly well-written series. It does not insult its audience, which is something I harp on all the time. There's little details. Like one of the facts that I really liked that I completely missed in the script was during the meetings with Miss Casey, she gives the sort of like little hints about the Audis. She says to Irving that your Audi enjoys the sound of radar. And then it's like a throwaway line that his dog's name is Radar. And so like that just comes back full circle. And if you blink, you miss it. It's like, it doesn't need to be there in the script, but when you see those types of things, it makes the dialogue that much more powerful.
Yeah.
And my biggest compliment to this show that I'll end on before we get to your opinion, Philip, is it's one of the best examples I've ever seen of absurdism working, like to actually aid the story. I think Douglas Adams does that in his books, but that's like a different medium. This show like took that absurdism and like every part of it, I think, lends to the story itself, where I would find myself oftentimes when we got to like the rewards of like the Chinese finger trap and they're trying to beat each other for like these stupid little prizes, I kept thinking like, this is so dumb. Like, I'd almost check out, and then I'd remember like, oh no, they don't know what the real world is. So it like actually drew me deeper into the drama part of it, even though it was silly as hell. I would have this this moment of like, oh shit, like the Chinese finger traps do mean something to them because that's all they know. Like, and so I'd feel even more powerfully like profoundly pained for these characters. And I know we're going to get into more of it. I really love the whole concept of like retreating into yourself as like an actual personified thing. I think there's a lot to say here about like the soul, ethics, and humanity. And I want to talk to you about the deep themes when we have our open table. But yeah, those are my initial thoughts. Severance is probably one of my favorite shows, period, full stop, not in the last 5 years or whatever. Like one of the shows that I don't watch a lot of TV. It's hard for me to get sucked in. I like movies. Even some of the better ones that people have suggested, I'll watch an episode and it just doesn't catch me. But Severance caught me like right away. I was hooked. I could not stop watching it. And I cannot wait for season 3 because I'm with you, Philip. I don't know where the hell they're going to go. But like I have trust in these creators. Oh, and sorry, I keep saying one last thing and then having more things. I think if you look at their full cast and crew page, you can see why it's so good. In my opinion, there's 5 directors listed, but of those 5, Ben Stiller's done like 75% of the show, 11 episodes. So unified vision there. And then the same with writers. There's a whole panel of a lot of writers, but most of them have done 1 episode, and Dan Erickson has done like most of the writing. And I think in an age where both movie and TV get written by committee, it's great to see 2 creators kind of just having full control of steering the boat. And I think the product shows that. So those are my thoughts.
Dan Erickson's just like Hamilton over there. Just writing the other 61.
Full control, and also like budget. Like those, like Apple is throwing stupid money at those episodes, and that means that's a game changer because it allows them to do all the stuff that they do creatively. Because there was a number thrown around. I wish I had it. But I know it's like one of the most expensive TV shows ever produced. Like it's no joke. It's like each episode's like a movie budget, and so I think that gives them even more freedom. To your point, Travis, of like being creative and doing whatever they want, whatever they can think of to do. They can do, which is not not something a lot of creators get to have that luxury. Do you want me to go now or no? What's the format?
Tell us, what are your
okay,
thoughts?
So I hate this show. I hate this. No, I'm just kidding. I love it. Yeah, no, but I will say
I was so excited if that was about to be true. That would have been awesome.
I will say, and this is true. It's being totally transparent. By the way, in case you guys don't have it figured it out, this is my glasses. I have just the one stick. So in case you see the reason why
that'll happen sometimes.
The reason why it's not fashion, but I can't see without them. So, no, but
dang it! I just took the other side off my glasses because I saw that and I was like, that was pretty sick.
Right. That gets me into anyway. When who wrote Shogun? What's the guy's name? James. I'm blanking.
Trivium.
Mick.
Good. That's a deep cut, Clay. Not a lot of metal
That's-
fans out there.
Was that Mitchner?
Mick, no.
And metal fans would be like, "That's not metal."
That's not metal. I'm looking it up for you. I'm looking it up.
Okay,
for
well,
you.
when he died, I was in high school, aging myself, but I was a huge Shogun, Taipan, King Rat. I'd read like not all of them, and all of them out. And I was
James
Gaijin,
Clavel.
James Clavell,
okay.
thank you. And he had in a photo he had this like black like armband for some reason. And when he died, I wore like a black armband in like solidarity with James Clavell for like a month. I was like 15, 16 years old. Anyway, just non sequitur. But yeah, no, I you know, but I will say, being totally transparent, my wife also works in the film and TV business and marketing side of it, and so she was like, "Oh, want to watch this new show? It's supposed to be great, the whole thing." And I watched like 2 episodes of Severance with her, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm out. I'm out." And I kind of bailed on the show, honestly, for no reason, not really. I think at the time I was just kind of like busy, and I don't watch a ton of TV, much like Travis. I'm more of a movie guy, but TV is hard for me. It's really hard for me to get into a show. I can name like The Pit was amazing. Succession, loved it. Like, just loved it. But there's certain, like, for the most part, it's hard for me to get into shows. If I don't get into it by like the second or third episode, I'm out. I don't have time. And then when season 2 came out, I kind of got rehooked, and I went back and watched the whole first season by myself, basically. Actually, she rewatched most of it with me. And I got complete, and it was one of those things, like when you go back to something, right, the second time, and it really connected. And I think just different mindset or whatever. And that's when I really kind of like got hooked on it. But truth be told, I did bail after a couple episodes because I was like, it's too slow. I got too much shit to do. I can't, like, I gotta go. So yeah, but then I kind of like bought in and really appreciated what they were doing and where they were going with the story. And I think there was a part of me that, I've been burned with Lost. I was burned. Like, I was mad about Lost for an inappropriately long amount of time, right? When I was like, well, why would they do all that stuff? It doesn't matter at the end. They just did a capsule episode at the end that had nothing to do with anything else, and it drove me nuts. And it bothered me that they did all this exactly to Travis's fake point about they're just leading you on where they don't know where they're going. And that was very frustrating for me. And so, and it really bothered me. So I kind of thought that, like, I don't know if they know where they're going, blah, blah, blah. But then I bought in more. By the time I was like a couple episodes into season 2, I was totally engaged and rehooked. So again, total transparency, I was not like a fan from episode 1 like Travis was. It took me, I had to go back and re-engage. But now I'm like totally on board. And I'm always a big fan of, I'm always a big fan. You guys are all creative. It's, I have such an appreciation for unique vision. I have such an appreciation for authorial voice, whether it's in film or music or TV or books. And even if you don't have a budget, even if it's not widely distributed, even if it's not necessarily technically good because you don't have the money to hire a great cinematographer and to spend 8 hours on a shot and all that kind of stuff, I appreciate vision so much. And I felt like Severance had such wonderful vision, and exactly to Travis's point, the fact that they had these 2 creators who were really kind of working in synchronicity to create something totally fresh that was also, and this is accurate from my initial debate, to create something that's so unique and so frankly obtuse, but also be so popular is incredibly difficult, especially on a platform where people have to pay to engage. This isn't Lost on ABC at 8:00, right? This is like, you got to find it. And so the fact that people sought it out and found it is really amazing. And it's a credit to the creators. So yeah, I am a fan, but like I said, I had to kind of go back and redo it a little bit to get fully involved. But I thought some of the stuff that they did in season 2 was was some of the best stuff I've seen on TV. And then like stuff like the marching band, which like
I love it.
Just take, well, you know what it is? It's something you're taking you're swinging the bat. You know, that's the thing about you're taking a swing and you're like, hey, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna have like this and huge marching band. And Travis said it so well too. Like, and it took me a bit of a minute to, I guess, fully appreciate the idea that like the overly simplistic rewards that they gave these employees, where part of you is like, what is it? Are they just doing that to be quirky? But then you do connect it, and it's kind of like it's sad because you realize, oh no, this is their whole world. Like they don't know anything other than what's here, and like we're gonna have a jazz party, you know?
Yeah,
it's like
Defiant
the greatest.
jazz.
It's like the greatest thing because you're like,
What a reward.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, I get it because this is all they know, and this is like totally new to them. They're infantile in a way, and so anyway,
I love too how that ties in so well with like you said, like patience. This TV show rewards patience because you get in season 2, you finally get Dylan kind of having his arc, and it takes all of season 1 to establish that he's the one that cares the most about these tiny little prizes, and so they build that like foundation of blocks to say like Dylan's the one that's bought in the most. And we're now going to give him like the first contact with his Audi's wife. And so now he sees what real life is, and he like feels real love, and his whole self is shattered. And like when that happened, I was like near tears.
Yeah, that whole plot, I guess, development or plot beat of like them being able to see their Audis for a brief moment was like like the tragedy and the emotional level of that stuff was off the charts. I was really blown away as a writer. I mean, you guys are all creatives, like I said, but it's so hard to create those kind of moments, and they really knocked it out of the park. And I also think there was as I mentioned, there's that scene. Oh, my favorite scene in the series to date was the scene where they were actually when they were at dinner. It was Totoro and Walken, and they were at Walken's house having dinner with his partner, who's a wonderful actor who was in Lord of the Rings and Fringe.
Oh yeah,
I can't remember. Who plays his partner and her husband, and man, that dinner scene was phenomenal. Just phenomenal.
So good.
So good. So good. So well acted. Walken was just.
And this leads into my first panel question that I think, and people can hopefully give their opinions of the show off of this question, but I think one of the biggest strengths that we're talking about right now, and I'd love to hear from all of you as writers, is balancing your primary plot thread with all of like a plethora of character plot threads that we've talked about this on the show before in context of books, but in TV, I think when it hits even better, is like every character has a nice through line that if not concluded yet, we can see something coming in the future. And I think this show does brilliantly of making us care about every character. And I know that that's a hard thing to do as a writer, so I'd love to hear y'all's opinions on, do you agree with me that Severance does that beautifully? And what do you think the trick is to balancing so many plot threads while not losing the focus of what you want I never for a second doubt that Mark and Helly are the primary characters of this story, but I know that everyone else is important as well. And that seems like a tough, tricky balancing act. So we could start with you, Philip, and then raise your hands if you want to jump in.
Yeah, they do a really good job of that. And, you know, even Milchick, and like where he's kind of become a more developed character over the last, especially over the second season, I think it's one of those situations I think where they had him season 1, probably thought of him as being one thing, and then he kind of became a bigger piece. And he's like one of those like actors who's like, you know, they have him like in one episode and then like he becomes like a fan favorite, so they start putting him in more episodes. He becomes a recurring character. Milchick really expanded. I thought he had some wonderful moments when he became the boss, and the conflict that he had with a lot of the characters. So anyway, yeah, I think it's incredibly hard. I can't speak too much to it as it pertains to television because I'm not really, I'm not a TV writer, but and I know it's such a balancing act to kind of like keep going on the primary arc with the primary characters, but also developing the other characters. I will say that I guess I can speak to it as far as fiction is concerned. I've mentioned this before, with like my books, Boys in the Valley, and with Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre, like there's large casts in those books. There's 30 kids plus 5 priests plus on in Boys in the Valley. There's 80 residents in Autumn Springs. And one of the things I've mentioned in interviews is like, I didn't want it to be, and I feel like we're beating up on Lost a lot, but I didn't want it to be like Lost where it's like, there's 50 people on this island, but shit only happens to like 6 of them, right? And the rest of them are like digging ditches or like in the background, right? They're like building fires or like playing volleyball with like a ball of string or some shit. But like all the cool stuff's happening to these like 5 guys. And I really like with like my books anyway, specifically with a lot of books I've just mentioned, it was very important to me that like to build a community, you have to give every character like something. You have to give them a little bit of screen time or a little bit of page time. You have to give them some quirks. You have to give them personality, a little bit of a unique dialogue, or something that gives them life, that makes them breathe and gives them blood and flesh and all that kind of stuff. And you kind of balance it. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to give you a little bit of like, you're going to have your moment, but then we're going to keep going with the story because the story's got to keep going. And people want to know what's going to happen next and who's the killer is and all that kind of stuff. And I think with Severance specifically, it's micro feeding. It's like kind of like, well, we all know that everyone wants to know the big secrets or reveals, and you can't go too like. There's nothing worse. I'm not a big fan of bottle episodes, what they call bottle episodes, where it's like, okay, episode 5, we're going to go back in the past. And it's going to be this whole episode about this one character that has nothing to do with that happening right now. I'm not a big fan of it. And they do it all the time because they need to, they need to fill the quota, right? But I feel like it's just that. I feel like it's filler. And yes, of course, there's like stuff that gives you more background about that character. But ultimately, you're not driving the story forward. You're not giving the reader or the viewer information that they need to understand what's going to happen next in the primary story. So I'm not a big fan of bottle episodes. But I'm a big fan of like, let's take 5 minutes or 10 minutes and let's explore this character a little bit more. Let's give them a POV. Let's give them some nuance. Let's show them struggling with something that we wouldn't necessarily anticipate them struggling with. I think a lot of it is range. And you hear actors talk a lot about range. They go, oh, this part doesn't have enough range, whatever. But I think from a writer's perspective, if you can give a character a little bit more range, if you can make them a little bit more gray versus black and white, if you can make them a little more conflicted in a way that surprises and subverts expectations of the viewer and or reader, that goes a long, long way. And to your point about not insulting the viewer, Travis, like you don't have to do a lot. It can be 30 seconds, right? It can be a moment. And it can really go a long way toward making that character more complex, give readers and viewers more empathy for that character, make them more like interesting, and like I said, it doesn't have to be over the top or a lot. It can be super brief. But I think giving them more range, making them a little more complicated and a little less obvious, or subverting expectations a little bit, goes a really long way. And then you can keep going with the primary plot, and now it's just richer because now people are like, I'm more on board because now I want to know what happens to all these characters. I want to know what happens to Milchek. I want to know what happened, not just the 4 guys who I was introduced to in episode 1. I want to know what's going to happen to all these different characters. And even like, and I can't remember her name. I'm sorry, you guys might know the girl who played the Milchek's kind of number 2 in season 2.
Oh, Miss Huang.
What was it, Jeremy?
Oh, the character's name Miss Huang.
Miss Huang,
Sarah Bach.
Yeah, but Miss Huang, the character Miss, like, immediately became kind of a fan favorite, right? And she didn't like just because she kind of was the she was sort of introduced in a way to kind of show more range for Milchek. Like all of a sudden he was like, well, now I have like you and you. There's a lot of conflict with those two characters. So anyway, so I think that's a big way to do that, and it doesn't have to be overly complicated, or you don't have to give a whole episode to somebody. It can just be 30 seconds, and the readers or viewers, they get it, and they'll keep that in their memory banks, and they'll be more engaged with that character moving forward.
Yeah, Clay, I saw your hands first.
Yeah, I agree, Philip. I really like what you're saying about microdosing too, because that's something this show does so expertly. Like you said, too, in your debate, Travis, there's like those quick lines, like your Audi loves the sound of radar. Like, yeah, it's throwaway, but it's sticky. Like, you kind of expect a payoff for a line like that, and that's one of those the examples in this show where it's really well written, really well balanced out. Like Dylan, you guys have mentioned it, and there's so many little nuggets of what you're talking about too. Like Travis, you said he's the most bought in, and it's evident he like actually is good at this job and really cares about this job. But it's kind of his personality to joke around and talk shit. But like at the end of the day, he is actually trying really hard and doing a good job. And him meeting his outside self actually amplifies that to a degree, because then we see him as an audience from a different perspective. And there's like some things you can tell that it feels like it's missing there, between who he is at home and who he is at work. And that's an interesting flip of the concept, because we all kind of like morally, I think, want to side with the home side. But this show did an interesting thing with Dylan, because he seemed the most like rebellious, but he was actually the least. And even Mark sees that when he goes up to the higher office and she's like, who should I give the waffle party to? Like who gets waffles and orgies? Is it, I imagine it's you, right? Because you're the boss. And he's like, no, Dylan should get it. And like, I thought that was kind of cool. I also love that when what's his name? Milchek, when he comes in and he's like, why don't you tell them what you requested? He like, it's like, he seems like he's flexing on him, but then he opens it and his friends are just happy for him. And then Milchek's like, all right, let's switch up the vibe. And that was such a great moment, because it was like, he expected that to be insulting to them, but they were like, yeah, we get it. He doesn't get it. He's not severed. So he does think these prizes are stupid. And that's like baked into the like actual story, which is really cool. On so many different levels. But that's something I love about the show. I do also love that they do use that setting in an interesting way. Like Irv and Dylan, who also happen to be sort of like secret best friends. And we kind of really see the depth of that. I love that scene where Irv is first trying to leave and Dylan's like blocking him, trying to keep him from leaving, like giving it his all to talk him off the ledge. That's a beautiful scene. And it's sort of one that just like built up really organically in the background. So it's a great example of using the side characters. I'm rambling a bit, but Severance is a really fun show.
I think real quick, Jeremy, I think too, there's an element of like, we buy in as an audience to the like real world. Cause I think I've seen that where the person who's most bought in and invested in the company, as soon as that company breaks their trust, they usually do become the one that's like the most pissed off. Cause they're like, I know that this is a good place. And then as soon as it like that illusion is shattered, they're like, what? Like, how dare you? Like, it's that broken trust in a relationship. And I think you can feel that with Dylan, or like on a team. I mean, that happened anytime that trust is broken on like a team. You're like, you were the one. What the hell? Like, I'm the most pissed because I thought you were good. And so I loved seeing that like real world implication there. But Jeremy,
I want to say too, sorry, Jeremy. One thing I forgot to say.
Are you?
But that reminded me of it.
Twice, Jeremy got truncated twice.
I'm sorry to everybody but Jeremy, actually. This is just for looking unprofessional. Fuck you, Jeremy.
Yeah, thank you. That's
You know what? Just go ahead. Go ahead.
fine. I remove myself from the second trunk. But yeah, no. I feel like this show actually does really well with its characters, and I'm glad that the first season pretty narrowly passed the 3-episode test for me. You have to get through episode 3 and be like, okay. But you know, I think the
those were
balance
hard for me
comes
too, the
from
first two.
Yeah.
But the pacing was tough. That's ultimately what was.
Yeah,
fine.
it all
Pacing
just
was tough.
like episode to episode, it just ramps a little each more until you get to like end of season 2 and everything's cranked to 11 and shit's just going bananas. But like it works for me at least because the characters seem to follow this sort of idea that no one can just be one thing for their entire existence. Like if you picture Darth Vader, sure, big scary evil guy, but like also at some point he ate lunch. He went and took a shit. Sometimes.
Did he though?
Can you
Did Darth-
evilly
Does
eat
Darth
a
do that?
sandwich? I assume he uses the Force to wipe, but yeah. But
Do you think
Can you
he's evil?
Can you
I don't
evilly
know if
eat a
he's eaten.
sandwich?
can you? Can you just like
Well, when he's in the chamber thing, doesn't that like feed him? And like, I'm wondering if there's nutrients being pumped into his body or
there could be nutrients being pumped into his body, but you know,
and extracted, as it were.
every
He
once
just
in a
doesn't
while,
want to see people can't see him eat. That's the only reason. That's his toilet time. No one can see him.
but look, every once in
I
a while,
bet
Darth
Darth
Vader,
Vader's
he's
just
Can you
gonna
imagine
have-
like
all
Vader like
day.
lifting
Ooh.
the thing and then kind of going in for
Just
the
like-
sandwich like underneath
he
it?
would
Like,
he would maybe have to. I don't know. But even if he
I
didn't,
bet he's got a little
you know
diaper
for
bag in
sure.
there.
and what would he
changes
be?
the shit.
What kind of sandwich do you think Vader would be going in? What are we talking about? Like,
something a little
you guys-
A hoagie.
gruesome.
A hoagie for sure.
You know,
like
you
a Philly
know that-
cheesesteak? What are we doing?
Yeah,
Like a
You know that-
tauntaun. I picture like a tauntaun leg on one of those big rotating skewers, and people are shaving them off
Yeah.
with the big long
Yeah.
knives. You know,
Yeah, you'll
All
want
I'm
Yeah.
saying is, you know that there's a stormtrooper that's in charge of like emptying Darth Vader's poop bag.
100%.
Like 100%.
you know.
Yeah, rookie on the squad.
Look, you got to pay
That's
your
your
dues
first duty.
before you get out of the identical
Duty.
armor. You know,
You don't
gotta
go
do some
straight
duty
to the
duty.
hangar where you're watching ships coming in and out. You got to like pay your dues first. You got to get in
Yeah,
there.
you don't
Exactly.
get to just watch ships coming out right out of college.
Right.
You
the
gotta-
Empire
You're not one of the guys
is a
just randomly-
meritocracy, guys.
Constantly standing in the hangar when ships land and take off. Right. It takes.
You know,
those
that
are
actually-
those are veterans. Those are veterans.
Those are veterans. Those are foremen. Those guys have the high vis vest.
Maybe that's why they haven't shot laser rifles in a while.
Yeah.
They've been too
that-
busy forming in.
We solved the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We did it.
because they always
Thank you,
do
everyone.
miss.
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah.
so many Jedis escape so many hangars. They actually escape
So
them
many.
very often, and I'm like,
usually one
that's
a
got to
movie.
be the hardest place to escape
Yeah,
possible, and the hardest
Yeah.
way. A hangar in the
real
sky.
real tough, man.
Sorry,
Those
Jeremy.
are narrow corridors. You know they're running through when they miss with those blasters. It's not. You're not looking at a meadow. You're like you've got an
No.
8-foot.
You
You got
got
an 8-foot wide
it's-
corridor, bro, and there's like 3 people. Like you can't hit any of that. It's
you gotta really try hard
Not
to miss
good.
that.
Maybe they
I don't
do
know.
let people just watch ships right out of college, and they
Maybe.
they make the veterans follow Vader around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think Colin had
You
his hand up earlier. I don't know if
yeah.
you
Colin,
got his-
what were you saying?
Oh, my hand
about
disappeared.
stuff?
Who did
Yeah,
that?
your hand did disappear.
Is it relevant to Darth Vader's diapers?
Yeah, is it on Star Wars? Like that's our topic
Is
of the
it?
night.
That's
Is
a
it a
good
little bit?
question. Like, is it like a depend situation or is it like a funnel situation?
I
What a
think
troll.
I think it's like a bag. I think.
Listen, speaking of trolls, everybody keeps orgasming all over this show. I'm gonna bring you all back down to earth. All right.
Oh,
That's
thank
why he
you.
wears
Colin.
the cape.
Oh,
by the
yeah,
way. The
okay.
cape is
Colin.
to hide
the
the shit bag.
the biggest problem with this show is they want me to identify so hard with Harmony Cobell. And it's not that I don't want to. It's that her episode of this random backstory with her sister at a lighthouse makes no sense to anything. And the only point of all of it is so that we can see Mark Scout be a, old truck action hero bursting in across these like nice visuals of New England and bursting out of there with her, and then getting a piece of paper that proves that she came up with Cold Harbor. And it's like that one episode is like such a waste of time. There's like 3 cool things that come out of it that we could have spent way more time with someone who actually has more to do with the effects of, this whole innie and outie system. So there you go.
I agree.
But then how would you?
No, I agree.
How would
I
you
agree.
know
And
what
I
Cold
forgot
Harbor
about
is?
that episode, and that's exactly what I mean by bottle episode. It's like you don't need to go do. We don't need an hour of it. We get like you can you can mention that she's a sister. You can mention that she's a notebook, and I felt like that. I agree 100%. That episode felt like a drag on season 2.
I did not feel that. I thought, because it was a burning question about, not that I didn't think the show was trying to make me sympathize with Harmony, but it was a burning question since the beginning that I had of like, what gave Harmony such pull? Because she constantly does seem to have pull.
Yeah.
She seems to have a stake in the game that's higher than anyone, especially Milchek. And it doesn't seem, they give little subtle hints the whole time that it doesn't seem to come simply from promotion. Because even when Milchek gets promoted, he doesn't have the same level of like influence that Harmony does in the exact same position. And so I thought that us going on her journey gave a little. It was more of a peek behind the curtain of the company of Lumen, and I like when we keep getting those, because I keep wondering, like, what is Lumen? What are they trying to do? And I did think that it was a valuable episode.
And
there.
they did integrate some background on Lumen itself. You're right. I forgot about that. Yeah. You're right, Travis.
And I think Harmony is so tied, because they could have just gone and done like a weird Lumen episode with an unrelated person, but they didn't do that. They gave us a character that we'd been with since episode 1, who is so tied to Lumen that she's clearly the one that's going to give us some answers about this mysterious company. And still serve the narrative a little. So I don't know. That's my thoughts. I can see it both ways a little bit, but I thought I was into that episode, and it was delightfully weird. Clay?
That episode did feel a little bottled to me, but I agree that valuable things came from it. I do think it's a good example of this show's ability to answer questions that they know their viewership has in a definitive but non-insulting way. They're really good at writing, like just at writing in general, but basically at writing these answers to questions in a way that felt like you're still figuring them out a little bit, but they also tell you pretty definitively to give you these like aha moments. One I can think of is with Miss Casey when she's got her room half packed. I love that scene. So she's like still doing her Harmony thing, and she's still doing like the music and the humidity or whatever, but like her room's vibe is totally gone, and she continues to kind of do the thing, even though they have a deeper conversation. She says there, like, she's essentially been alive for like 80 hours or something, and that most of it has been spent doing exactly what she's doing right now. And her favorite time she'd ever had was like creeping in their office. And it, like you say, it's like such a tragic, poignant message about like what these conscious beings are actually going through. And I think it raised the stakes quite a bit. So I think this show is really good at, answering those questions in a definitive way, like they did in that episode too. We got some solid like exposition and world building and backstory from that episode, but without, it didn't feel overly bottled to me. Like that was its only purpose. It still felt like it was valuable and had forward momentum.
Yeah, Jeremy.
Well, I think the episode is that episode in particular. It does a thing of a little bit what I was talking about before, where it's it shows that even this 10 pounds of crazy in a 5-pound sack, which is Miss Cobell, is like she does also have to like brush her teeth and sleep and cry in her mom's bed or whatever to do stuff. But it does kind of like highlight to me one big looming question that hangs over the entire series, especially the more the puzzle expands, which is, can there, well, first of all, I guess it's two questions. First question is, how the hell is Lumen like a profitable business in any way when they have both a goat department and a marching band department? And
where did the marching band come from is a question mark. Yeah.
That's they're apparently their own just department. That's just what they do.
I love it.
Day in, day out. Some people find scary numbers. Some people practice elaborate musical dance numbers. But it like
it's a branch of advertising.
It's a sure, why not? But
Also,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
It leads to my main question from that question, which as the puzzle gets bigger, can there be a realistically satisfying answer to what Lumen is up to? That also explains how they're like successful as a business when they're mostly a cult.
Well, two things, and that I know Philip had his hand, but real quick, two things.
It disappeared.
One, we called Colin a troll, but he's in the majority here. I do want that to be clear. Like, if you look at the IMDb ratings, the lowest rated episode of season 1 was a 7.7, which for IMDb is a high praise. Like, things usually don't break 8 to be considered good on that website. And Sweet Vitriol season 2 episode 8 was a 6.6. It's the lowest ranked episode.
That was the lighthouse. That was the bottle episode.
Yeah, that was the lowest ranked episode of the entire series.
People don't like it, man. People don't like it.
They want the episode where she huffs ether. Who doesn't love that?
People. Let me tell you. Let me tell you the thing I hate. I hate more than anything in the world is when I watch a TV show or a movie, and I watch like the first 5 minutes. And then the next thing I see is like 3 years prior, and it goes back. I'm like, "Fuck you guys!" Like, I don't want to know. I don't care. Like, I want to know what's happened. I want just keep the story going. And I think that's what frustrates a lot of viewers is they don't want to go backward. Like, I get you. Like, and we were talking about this earlier. Like, you can do it subtly. You don't have to do a whole like thing. Just like introduce it. But don't devote a whole episode to it, because I think you're doing a disservice to your viewership and to do that. I think you're like saying like, we're going to make you watch an hour of backstory for what is not really a ton of information. That information we probably could have given you in dialogue in about 2 minutes. And I feel like it's never a good idea. It never really works. I'm not saying it's not high. I'm not saying it's not high quality or done well or any of that stuff. I just feel like you don't need all of that. And there's nothing more disappointing than when you turn on a TV show that you're really into, and you get to like episode 4, or episode 5, or episode 6, and you're like, sit down and you have your like, whatever, your chicken curry or whatnot, and you're ready to mushroom, like, I want to know what happens. Mushroom. I want to know what happens next. Let's go, mushroom salad. And it's like, oh, we're going to take you back in time to this one character's thing. And it's like, oh, come on, man. So I don't think what I was going to say about that when I raised my hand, I didn't want to forget about it. I was going to ask you guys if you saw the Emmy speech, which I mentioned earlier, that she had written on the back of her Emmy speech.
No.
She'd written "Let Me Out" on the back of the Emmy speech. You guys not see that?
No, that's awesome.
It's
well,
like
I saw the Emmys before I saw this show.
So you saw it, Jeremy? You know what I'm talking about?
I know. I did watch the Emmys. Wouldn't know.
So
I
yeah, so,
was
so if you
at best
if you were to
20%
Google it,
paying attention.
so Google Severance Emmy's note or whatever, and you'll see that on her speech that she pulled out to read. And I apologize for the fourth time that I don't know this actress's name, but in the back of the speech it says "Let me out" in sort of faint letters, which I thought was a nice touch.
She played. This is the actress that played Helly, right?
Yeah,
Britt Lower.
Britt Lauer.
Britt Lauer. Yeah. I mean, she won Best Actress. I mean, but the back of her speech, she wrote "Let me out," which I thought was very nice.
That's clever.
I thought it was a nice touch.
I was gonna say, like, there is one thing that's really hard that it comes to criticism of this show. I mean, basically, the show is a 99 out of 100. It's a great show, but there is a huge elephant in the room, and that is, like, how do you critique something that's not done? And it's clearly there is a huge world-changing ending for all of these characters, this entire community, and this company that clearly is involved with the most powerful countries, corporations that are in the world, that involves a huge cult and everything else. And it's like, but what do they, like, what is that thing? What is the end gonna be that pulls this all together and ruins lives, saves lives, brings these characters together who they thought were dead, this married couple who's the main character. Like, it is really hard to criticize anything where it's so dependent on the end, and clearly has been since episode 1.
They have to stick the landing. They absolutely have to stick the landing.
And the thing is, like, it's the Cobell episode is a perfect example where it's like, if we end up back there at some point, it could be huge. And there's a bunch of huge important things that happen in that episode. The question is, like, as a viewer, you're watching it, and once you get to the last episode, you go back and you go, oh, that third episode, whatever, with the goats, like, this is all coming together now. So it's very difficult to decide if something is really overdone or not without knowing the ending, when the ending is so important.
Yeah, I hope I've watched the series finale and then it just pieces it together for me, like, oh, that's why the waffle party is like, okay, I get it.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
Hey,
well, and if they manage to navigate it effectively, they can also pull off the absurdist ending, where ultimately God is a guy playing with his cat, like they could potentially try to do that thing.
It's aliens.
It's aliens.
Mm-hmm.
I do think too, they're probably going to have to, I'm hoping they're going to do the bold move of, like, giving us another primary character in season 3, like another narrative to follow with Miss Casey, because, like, she's barely in the show until the very end.
And they bring her back in as early as, like, episode 5, where they re-show the meeting real quick, like how they met. Of season 2, it's like 5 or 6 where they're like on the lawn chairs together.
Oh
when they're donating that together.
Which
Yeah.
that was
That's
kind of a
weird
bottle
thing.
episode, but a really good one.
That's a
where
weird.
There's also the weird
cute,
thing.
but
There's also that weird side story with, like, the sister and the pregnancy camp and all that stuff too, which I think has not been fully explored.
I love the sister's husband character is probably
Rickon
is so funny.
He was in a movie. He was in a movie called, which I highly recommend, called Werewolves Within. Which is
great movie.
Josh Rubin, and which is one of the funniest horror movies of all time, in my opinion. He also did Hard Eyes, but that actor is in that movie. And he's hilarious in that movie as well. Just for the record. Side note.
He crushes this role. He's so funny. Like, and it's little details too. Like, I just remember when he grabs, like, Mark's foot. He's like, "Good night, champ," and he, like, grabs his foot or something. And it was weird enough. They, like, punched in on it. It was like they just did, like, funny little things like that.
Maybe my favorite thing about the series is that Rickon's stupid book started a revolution.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, I agree. That was really clever. Yeah.
And I love the tie.
He locked the book in the conference room or whatever, and then all of a sudden people started reading it. That was pretty clever. Yeah.
He's an absurd character, but he's also very real. Like, I've met a few Rickons, I think, and, like,
I guarantee you the writers have met a few Rickons.
They've met so many Rickons.
Yeah, I love that.
It's so, I mean, his, like, Travis, it speaks exactly. You've read papers by students that sound like Rickon, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is so profound. This is by, this is by Sartre or Camus or, and it's totally the thing. And I feel like that's the other great thing about this show is that we talked about Time and how it's a perfect movie to show for students in a classroom and then talk about, morality. And Severance is the same thing, where it's like, it's a fantastic show to show an episode of this to a bunch of students when you talk about either identity or, what is the mind and the self, and do you need memories to be yourself? And then more generally, morality, like Mark acting, right? I mean, Adam Scott acting both Marks talking with a camera to one another is just one of the most brilliant scenes I've ever witnessed.
And how it escalates.
It's so specific to like identity. Like, would you have an argument with yourself depending on the situation of your two selves?
Running out, I can't remember exactly what the scene. You get like running outside.
Yeah.
They're on the balcony. Yeah, the patio.
That was a brilliant scene.
Clay, and then I have another panel question.
Yeah, and the nature of like relationships through that identity too, because Dylan, again, I love the Dylan character. If you couldn't tell,
good.
But the arc with his wife was really interesting, right? Because it was like and
she won an Emmy too, right? That supporting actress.
I think so. Yeah,
I think so.
She was great in
wasn't she in
Studio 26 or whatever? What was that called?
Merritt Weaver.
Oh, the one with Brie Larson. Is that what you're talking about?
No, the one with
she was
Rob
in that
Lowe.
Too,
yeah, no, the TV show with like Rob Lowe where they were like a Saturday Night Live type of show.
I don't remember.
It was on for like 2 seasons, and it was Bradley Whitford and Rob Lowe, and they were the 2 head writers. Anyway, she was their assistant, and she was great. And she goes to my gym, so double.
Nice. Clay,
I see her at the gym. Yeah. I'm sorry, Clay.
Oh, no worries. I just feel like they actually structured those interactions really well and wrote them really well in a way that manipulated you to feel exactly how they wanted you to feel. Like early on, I was like, yeah, this isn't weird. That's how I was kind of supposed to feel like, but they were acting weird. And then it becomes weird. And then the second one, you're kind of like, oh, now I feel like there's a weird boundary here. But it's also like seems allowed that they can break it. Right. And then once they break it, then you really have to ask yourself, like, I don't know. That's pretty interesting, because she kind of is like basically banging her husband like in the past to get like the kind of intimacy, like new relationship energy intimacy, which is hard to top, right? And she's getting that from her husband again. So it's a really weird, like circular moral conundrum.
It's getting out of cheating.
The letter at the end is like such a bombshell. It's like he is a different person. He doesn't have that. He's not prone to fits of anger like he used to be, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I will say this about this. Devil's advocate to some degree. I will say that one of the things that I'm not saying it's a negative or whatever, but going back to the idea that I did have the thought when I was watching this show. I'm like, if they legit have only known this world, the innies, and they were born into it, like her in the kind of fetal position on the table at the opening episode.
Mm-hmm.
But they know, but they kind of know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
They know enough to know they're adults. They have an education to some degree. They know math. They know how to speak. They
have skills, but not memories.
But they don't have memories. Right.
It has.
He knows how to talk to like a woman.
I don't know if that's ever been addressed in the show, but that was something that was like
they remember maximum one state.
I think it's this. What? There's a level of suspension of disbelief that I call it the Frankenstein problem, because like my mom has ranted about Penny Dreadful's representation of Frankenstein, which I will always say is the most accurate to the book. But like that's the same thing where the Frankenstein monster is born, and then he just like he's learning language.
He knows stuff,
but he knows other stuff. And it's like, if he
Yeah.
didn't know language, you probably wouldn't. If he's truly a baby, he'd
Yeah.
act like a baby.
I think the easy answer is they're the same person without the memories.
Yeah.
I guess would be the easy answer to that. But it did bother me a little bit because they've only known this world and they don't know the outside world at all. And they're kind of like infantile in that way. They would just be like a bunch of blathering, big babies, adult babies.
But that raises like huge questions about how quickly do they learn, how quick, and is their entire existence just uncovering memories then at that point, right?
Yeah.
Because like mostly it seems like they would be, because your brain's gonna go to the quickest, like easiest solution to the problem. So if in doing a tactile action, it sort of fundamentally remembers something about that thing. I assume that's
Like
how they would learn
waffles?
everything. Yeah, like waffles. Like, hey, I see all this. I know how to put syrup on waffles. Like, is that how it works? And you're just sort of discovering that. And then what's the boot up process on that? There's no way it's 2 days where you're like, here, sit down at the keyboard. You know how to type.
Which again,
You're familiar with the QWERTY layout.
You're familiar with this extremely bizarre and very specific software.
Which
that
again,
we
like,
use here.
with good writers, I always want to give, like, if they've proven themselves as a good writer, I always want to give them the benefit of like taking that they're thinking of the things that we find, and
Totally.
like what you just said, like are they the same person, or what Philip just said, are they the same person who's just uncovering memories now? That's like very Greek philosophical roots of like the muses in Greek mythology are the daughters of Zeus and memory. Like all knowledge, all poetry, all like songs that come into existence are memories. So I think I can see the writers and creators of the show really going into that, and I think it proved, like to Colin's point of like, this is such a good show to use for philosophical lessons, because you also made me think of like all these there's like these thin line ethical things that have happened in the technology world, like pictures. Like I'm okay putting my own picture on the line if I've consented to it, but the moment like someone takes my picture and puts it online without my consent, now all of a sudden I'm like, that's not okay. It's like,
yeah, there's a bit of that like Plato Cave of Shadows situation going on, where it's like, it's all like, what do you see in the shadow versus what you see in front of you, and that's the one thing I and maybe it's been addressed and I've missed it, which is possible, but it does seem to me like there would be a little bit more confusion.
Yeah,
but that's again suspension of disbelief, obviously. But with a show like that, where you're already asking the audience to have a pretty significant suspension of disbelief as to what's going on, I feel like it wouldn't be the worst thing to address it. I don't know what the goats are all about. That's another thing.
Yeah, I really
Season
want
3.
there to be a
Season
big
3.
payoff for why there's a whole goat department, and I guess
The
now
goats
also a
need to
marching
pay off.
band department.
They didn't mention they didn't reveal what the goats were about, right? They just
Well, there's like a
they were
goat
gonna
sacrifice,
sacrifice the one. Yeah,
but like I don't see how that justifies having a whole group
goat
that's just goat herders,
yeah.
and not just like buying a goat for special
other
occasions.
than just the weirdness of it and all that stuff. But I don't like weirdness for the sake of weirdness. I'm hoping it has more merit.
I would like my last kind of panel question, and I know we're coming up on time here. I could ask so many questions about the show, but I'm going to make it a two-parter, but they're going to blend. One, ambiguity and cliffhangers. I think the show does really well, and I would love to hear y'all's thoughts on that. But tied to that is like within that spectrum is kind of little details. As writers, like how intentional are you about such little details, about things like really blending into the larger arc, but maybe being blinking to miss it? I'm thinking specifically of the show's theme song. Is like, for music nerds, Jeremy, hop in here if you have any comments. Is like, I've had a friend like nerd out at me about how it's a repetitive chord. It's like looping in a hypnotic procession, and then when the melody comes in, it's literally like a spiraling melody that like moves downward in tone. So it's actually like bringing you into the theme of the show, how it's like a constant, just mellow, like through line, and then it spirals downward in the background. So that's like a little detail of Severance that I think is very beautiful. And I think the cliffhangers play into that, and all these tiny things come together in the big puzzle. And how do you approach that as writers when you're building a large story and you do have the big picture, but you want to make sure that like all the small stuff fits and makes and contributes to the story. Start with Phillip and then Hans.
Well, I don't. I will say that when it comes to the music that you just talked about, it reminded me of and I'm not going to try and sound intelligent when I talk about this, but Tom York talked a lot about the negative space of music, and Hans Zimmer, I know, works, and Hans Zimmer has talked about Dunkirk, and is one of the orchestral pieces of Dunkirk where he's like, it's a constant elevation, but it never reaches full elevation. So it's kind of like it's constantly elevating, but it's also constant. So it's repeating, but it's also feels like it's constantly elevating. Which and Tom York, Hans Zimmer specifically to Dunkirk, but also in Interstellar, I think, to a degree. And I think but Tom York talks about a lot about mathematics, and when it comes to music and the negative space between notes and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot to unpack there, which I'm not intelligent enough or well versed enough to get into. But yeah, I don't know. As far as like telling a story or whatever, I mean, as it pertains to like, I don't know, big picture elements. Is that what you're saying, Travis? Like how do you have something that's like so big, but also like
yeah, more like how when you have the whole story, or if you don't have the whole story, but you at least have like the steps that you're moving forward with, how to not lose those little details in the mix, and like make sure that those are hitting and then contributing, because I think that's one thing Severance does really well, is like all the small stuff really, really blends into the puzzle, and then when the big moments happen, they're that much more powerful.
Yeah, I think it all comes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is characters. And I think the secret sauce to any great story is that you have to invest in the characters. And I think it sounds like a bit of a cop out, but it's really not, because because you can do so much. Reader investment is so dependent upon empathy for the characters and connection with the characters. And so if you can have the greatest twisty M. Night Shyamalan, Severance, Lost, from insane plot point as you want, you can tell the craziest story that you want to tell. But I think it all comes down to readers connecting or viewers connecting with the character that you're creating. So for me, it's always about, I need to make sure the characters are full-bodied, that they're complex, that they're empathetic, that readers can connect with them, that readers, I don't care if readers like my characters, but I feel like readers have to understand my characters' motivations. And I think all of those are those are your tools for telling a story. If you try and tell a story outside of characters that are believable and relatable, you're going to tell a very flat, empty story. So for me, that's where I would throw it into that. What you're suggesting is that you can have all the cool, crazy, twisty stuff you want, but ultimately the way you seed and consistently engage with a viewership or a readership is by having them invest in the characters, and by making the characters interesting and making the characters complex, and making the decisions, not the decisions the right word, but making the suppositions and the ultimate conclusions that a viewer or reader is coming up with. You want them to come to those conclusions via a character. Nobody wants the reader to know. No reader wants to know more than the characters do. It's the worst. It's the worst thing you can do, right? Is have a viewer know more than the characters do, or a reader know more than the characters do. So I think it all has to be funneled through the characters, and that's how you build out the story without losing, all those little things and those little nuances. And I think sometimes with fiction and in film and in TV. I think you lose sight of that, lost sight of a little bit, and I think people get overly, ego. I don't know if it's egotistical, but they get overly proud of the story, and they forget about the characters that are getting them there. You have to tell a story. You have to give the reader, I'll give you a quick example. When I wrote Boys in the Valley, there was 5 point of views. 4 of the point of views were third person. The primary point of view was first person. And I did that on purpose because I wanted that character to be the one that the reader connected with the most deeply. Because that's the character that I wanted you to see the majority of the story from, even though I was telling it from 4 other POVs. And so I think that's something that you have to do when storytelling, is to make sure that your characters are constantly growing, that they're constantly engaging with the reader or viewer, and that you're telling the story through them. Because otherwise, I'm watching Alien Earth right now, and it feels so flat to me. It feels like so empty to me because they don't care. You're not watching that story through the characters. You're watching that. You're reading it's like a script. You feel like you're watching a script, and it's just like, oh, look at this cool thing's happening, and this cool thing's happening, this crazy alien's doing this, but the characters are just they're unrelatable because they're these children who are in adult bodies, and they're weird, and there's no point in that. And then the one kid's like super rich, and he's like a billionaire, and he's like a weird techie bro, and so there's no characters in there that you connect with, and I think that's I think that's like Noah Hawley, where maybe he misstepped with Alien, was he didn't create characters that readers or viewers can empathize with and connect with as you go through that story. So it has a feeling of being very two-dimensional. So that's would be my 2 cents as it pertains to your point there.
As opposed to like the original Alien, where we've talked about that on the show, of like every character 100%. Down to the blue collar like mechanic guys, even though they die pretty fast, you connect with them. You're like, yeah.
Or even my favorite movie of all time, Aliens, right? Which again, but it's all the characters. Like Cameron does a great job of that, at least with those early movies. Like Paul Reiser is such a villain, and Sigourney Weaver's character Ripley is like, you're so empathetic, and Michael Bihn's character, whose I can't remember, but yeah, it's all told through the character's POV. You feel like you're experiencing that movie through the characters, and I think that's what maybe happened with Alien Earth that made it feel maybe more cardboardy. Is you're not really seeing that movie through the characters. You're seeing it as you're seeing it as something very kind of flat and two-dimensional that you're not really emotionally engaged with.
Jeremy?
Well, I think you're absolutely right with your analysis there. When it comes to like the little details of something, like they have to be non-essential. Like people have to be able to understand what's going on, even if they don't pick up on that. One really good example of this, I think, is in the score of the film Inception, where in each level of dreaming in Inception, the score actually just sounds like the song they play while they're in the dreaming to sort of time things out, but like slowed down to the degree that time would slow down when you're in that level of dreaming, to the point where you get down to limbo and you don't hear anything at all. But that's where we get that sound that has plagued movies ever since. But like, then that's where you also get stuff like in this, where Irv goes into his wellness session and he hears that his Audi loves the sound of Radar, and we find out later that Radar is his dog. And if you miss that detail, the story still works, because the writers went to great pains to establish that this movie or this series is what would happen if the movie Paycheck was also Office Space with no exit and Plato's allegory of the cave. So
nice.
When you throw all those things together, it's Severance. Look at
Yeah.
me. Wow.
Jeremy, they need to quote you on their comps for the rest of that.
Yeah.
That's the elevator.
Hit
thing.
me up. Hit me up, Severance. Ben Stiller. I know Pedro has told you about this show.
Pedro. Play.
I think Severance is well past the pitching phase.
Yes.
But they're definitely like, maybe next time, maybe next series. Remember this, Severance. Remember it. I think back to Philip's point about telling a story through the characters too. Something this show does exceptionally well, and I think is the only thing that makes like large cast shows work ever, is not just the character development itself, but like the development of the relationship between every character in the cast, because that's how we get that trickle down effect to caring about Herb's therapy session. Like, we don't care about that enough, even at that point in the story, especially at that point in the story where he's still more of a side character, right? To really like remember that intentionally. But we still do, I think, as they continue to build out that relationship. And that only works because they have a really strong, like, sort of root system to the protagonists and to like the heart of the story. And you can kind of, that relationship between the characters is just as important as every individual character's development. And if you don't believe work relationships, like, we all know those on an intimate level. So it's sort of a double-edged sword, right? Of, you can play on the implied understanding of most of your audience, right? So like, yes, we've all worked somewhere and you develop really real, powerful connections with the people you work with, like more than a lot of people in your life, because depending on what your job is, you may see those people just as often as you see your family, it just depends. So those relationships, like, they sort of get lumped in with being part of work, which is sort of seen as some kind of obligation sometimes. But like, they're also an important part of your life that you don't always share with the outside world, which makes the whole Severance concept really work. And I think it works powerfully in the connection between these characters too, and their connection with the work and their lives. And that's kind of, it's all this like really relatable level drama that the whole show is fueled by.
It also kind of takes the office affair to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
The what?
With
the office affair? Yeah, absolutely. You can have an office affair with your own wife if you work, like, if you're severed.
Oh my God. I have
Colin, go ahead.
So many weird feelings about this ever since the thought popped into my head. If the innies are having sex, it's kind of rape, no matter how you think about it.
It's like Wonder Woman 1984 all over again.
Yeah,
And,
a bit.
Colin, I'm sorry. To that point, the level where I was so happy, like Philip said, with the conversation with Bert outside, like Bert and the fact that they like had the theological debate, I was like, thank you. This is in my wheelhouse, and I love you for it.
That's like such a good example of where like that scene is so good, because we have an outside perspective who is just like, it could be a throwaway character, but that character has some of the most insightful explanations of what's going on, and into the character that is undergoing the like sci-fi technology that's changing people in the storyline, which is a big thing that's absent from some, especially old sci-fi, is like, what are the effects on the people that are using this stuff? What are the effects of the doctor who can just knock people out? Where's the line anymore? And like, to Clay's point, and also Jeremy touched on it too, like what another thing that's so good about Severance is that we really, there's so much detail from different perspectives on what's going on, and the characters don't just get thrown away. Like, I'm used to action movies and thrillers. Those are the majority of what a lot of people watch. And like, characters just die when they're not important anymore, or it's some villain that has a piece of paper that's important and then they get killed and moved on. All there is henchmen that don't matter. Right. And it's great to see a show that's like a science fiction that also, in general, pretty much all the characters live and go on and do other jobs at the same company or interact with one another in like the grocery store in town and stuff. They're not just thrown away. They keep popping up and they're different.
But the stakes raise. They don't have to kill people for the stakes to raise and get higher. Like they've continually raised where I'm getting more tense, but they haven't killed a single main character off. Well, except for
Now, why Lumen didn't just fire everybody and get a whole new team and do it right? That doesn't really make much sense from a manager.
We'll see.
Who could say?
That's all I got for questions. I do want to say one thing, and that is because I constantly crap on Marvel, but I had this thought from Philip's first comment, and I've kept it in my head. I love what you said a few times now about how characters, you don't have to do much to have the audience commit to like a character's backstory. You don't have to give them a whole extra episode. And one of my favorite moments of this in recent movie viewing history actually comes from a Marvel movie, which I'm going to praise because usually I shit on them, is in Civil War. There's this tiny moment, even teenage Travis noticed, of like Iron Man is like fighting with Winter Soldier, and Winter Soldier gets a pistol.
Wait. Are you saying you're a teenager when Civil War came out? Is that what you're saying?
I was in college.
Jesus
and
Christmas, you guys are young.
I'm sorry.
I know. bunch of infants on this.
Oh,
like,
shut up, Jay.
Was it like 5 years ago? Like when did this show? Sorry,
Civil War's
Sorry,
older than
Travis.
that. Anyway,
Travis, go ahead.
he pulls out the pistol.
It was
and he
6
goes,
years ago, Philip.
6. There we go. So I was 24. So I was.
So you were in high school.
I was in college.
At
Just out of
24.
college.
So you weren't a teenager. Let's just call it.
I was not a teenager.
Okay, this was in
not a
2016.
Come on, dude.
Oh
So,
It's
my
not like
gosh.
it's 1985, dude. It's
Sorry.
It's 5 years
9
ago.
years ago. So
I
I
I'm
was-
not that
wild.
old. Okay.
I was 24 years old when
Jeremy.
Captain America Civil War came out. Mm.
So
Anyway.
Travis was 22.
Anyway,
Oh.
sorry.
Yeah, you weren't a
or like-
teenager,
he was
Travis.
Teenagers like, dude, I was a teenager in 1985, bro.
My bad. My
Yeah,
bad.
bruh.
I'm getting lost
What are
in
you
the
doing?
38 Marvel movies, okay? I forget which ones are like 10 years ago and which ones are 6.
And frankly, how dare you?
Yeah, right.
My point being, Winter Soldier pulls out the pistol and he goes to shoot Tony Stark, and Tony Stark puts on the Iron Man glove and blocks the bullet, but Winter Soldier pulls the trigger. And like, to me, in college, I was like, oh, he was gonna just shoot him. Like he was
Yeah, he was just going to
Full
shoot him right in the
committing.
face.
to that shot. And like, to your point, Philip, that's a very tiny moment. That's like 2 seconds that
Yeah.
told me as the viewer like he's gone. And he's like truly a villain at this moment, and he's actually doesn't.
Well, let me
No.
take that moment and amplify it by bazillion, which is like the whole Han Solo Greedo thing, right? Like that was the whole controversy around that entire moment. Was George went back and was like, "Oh no, I don't want Han to be a bad guy. I want him to be a good guy. So therefore, I have to have Greedo shoot first." And all the controversy that erupted out of that moment. That's how simple it can be. That
Mhm.
split second can change the entire trajectory of that character for 6 movies or whatever it is. And so yeah, it can be something that simple.
Yeah.
Han just straight iced Greedo, and we all know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, look,
Which
the
was
change is
Which was the brilliance of Han Solo, was that he was this sort of dark character.
yeah,
That's what
the
made it so cool.
change makes him lucky instead of smart.
Yeah.
So
Makes him a little less heartless, which was not his MO. He was a heartless, mercenary smuggler. That was this whole thing.
Yeah.
And then he changed,
Always
which
bring
is
it back
why
to Star Wars.
George, if you're watching this, it's what's called a character arc, and it's okay to have one, buddy.
yeah, George,
Go back and fix
Oh,
it
come on
again.
now. That's why he went and did the
refix
prequels.
it, break into Disney, and just re-edit it. Okay,
And make Jabba a big guy again, please. Anyway,
I don't know about that. I do like.
yeah, just
some
make
of
him
Jabba.
just a dude,
a dude again.
a dude in a
the
furry
Jabba.
vest.
All right.
That's what you
Before we get back into
Yeah, we
this-
missed out on that version of Java. For
before
sure.
we get back into Darth Vader pooping in his
Philip remembers that version of Java.
yeah.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Let's rank this thing, and I'm going to start with Colin today because he's to my left. And Colin, how many drinks does it take to fully appreciate the show Severance?
You should have a drink an episode, except for Harmony Cobell's episode. You want to have 4, no 7.
Okay.
Okay,
You can play
That's-
on medium or hard.
that's rough. Hey, medium. That's a pun. She was in medium anyway.
Every time there's an animal, take a shot.
Every time there's an animal in the Harmony Cobell episode, or
No, in the whole series.
does that count? Does that count the like animal head orgy people?
Does that? Yeah.
No.
What about
That's
the
not an
goat
animal.
mask guy? Goat mask guy doesn't count.
Goat
No.
mask guy.
If they eat a cheeseburger, is that an animal? No, of course not.
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean,
Okay, so
a
that
little.
come out to how much?
I mean, it was.
That come out to
technically
like
2 separate ones, probably.
It's not an animal.
what?
I'm not
Probably
changing my
2, if
definition
not
for you.
3 or
An
4
animal
separate
isn't a
ones.
food. that
Yeah,
you
there's
eat.
like 3 depending on
It's
the
moving
bun
and it's
recipe.
moving.
Okay.
This is unhinged. 16 episodes plus. Oh no, there's more episodes than that. There's 20 episodes plus
there's
7.
19 episodes.
27 episodes. 27 drinks is what you're rating it, Colin. Right?
And 4 animals.
And sweet. Play.
It's an item.
What are you? How many drinks to enjoy Severance?
I think maybe you should drink only when it's outie scenes.
Oh.
Yeah, you should stick to that, because when you're on the inside, go ahead and just embrace that with them, Be there for the little things, get excited about Chinese finger traps, and have a good time. Because waffles will taste a lot better if you do it that way.
Mm.
Waffles will also taste better if you, when you're on the outside, sort of channel all the depression that might live within you. Everything you would want to forget were you becoming severed. And
This is going places.
and
This
just
is going.
and just drink it
seriously.
away.
Damn. All right.
Jesus. Okay.
Oh,
Thank you,
all right. Okay, Clay.
Jeremy.
So yeah,
Hey.
enjoy Severance, enjoy the ride. You can
Drink
also
away
play
your
on
depression, folks.
you can also play on very hard, which
Yeah,
is
you can
what
play
I just
on-
described.
Nightmare.
I guess.
Can you go nightmare?
Oh, Jesus. Jesus.
You
Okay.
can tell us what nightmare mode is, Philip.
Yeah, you can tell us if we don't get there in the meantime. So I guess first of all, and we can do math about this, it'll be great. You'll probably want, 1 per episode. So that's 19. That's great. You'll probably want an additional 3 for the first 3 episodes to just get you
Yeah.
over that hump.
I can
You'll
see
want that.
That's fair.
You'll probably want an additional drink whenever Dylan says something that you're gonna just end up quoting later. For example, when Irv says he met Bert, and Dylan's like, "I know that guy. He's a fuck." And like, he is not a fuck. Me and my wife,
He is
she
not a
doesn't even
fuck.
like. She doesn't even like saying fuck, but we will quote that together,
Yeah.
and that's how you know it's good.
Yeah.
So every time Dylan just does something iconic or whatever, you'll want another, maybe at least a sip. I don't know. Where are we at? Okay, we also
27?
need something. Yeah,
28? I
probably.
don't know.
27, 28. We'll also want something every time the question pops into your head of like, how are they making money from this?
Mm.
What's Lumen's? I mean, this is a cult, but they also seem to have infinite wealth. From where?
That's true.
So
Investors.
probably I want to say up to conservatively 45. And then
through 2 seasons.
through 2 seasons. Look, it's not so
And he's still,
bad.
he's still going. And then you're like an add-on.
And then I don't know. And then
Just bring the bottle,
want-
folks, is what Jeremy's saying.
bring the bottle.
Several bottles
for sure.
Several bottles.
Bring the bottle, especially early on when you realize, or when I realized, I would never be friends with someone who brought me to a foodless dinner. Because no,
Yeah.
I would just tell that person politely to never see or speak to me again.
See that
So
you'd
one
be
more drink.
nicer. You'd be nicer than me. I would literally just bring McDonald's and like eat.
Or order pizza. Or
McDonald's.
order
Wait, it's
or
nicer.
order pizza when you get